The small town of Red Hollow had its share of local legends, but none were as feared as the story of the Beast of Hollow Creek. It was said to live deep in the woods, near the creek that snaked through the darkest part of the forest. Generations of locals passed down the same warning: stay away from Hollow Creek after dark, or the beast will find you. The creature, according to the stories, was more than just a wild animal. It was tall, hunched, with eyes that glowed red in the night and a mouth filled with jagged, blood-stained teeth. Some said it walked on 2 legs, others swore it had 4. But all agreed on one thing: it fed on anyone foolish enough to venture near its territory after the sun set. Most of us thought it was just a myth, a way to keep kids from wandering too far into the woods. But then people started disappearing again. It started with a hiker. He had been camping near Hollow Creek for the weekend and never came back. His friends found his campsite deserted, his tent torn open, and his gear scattered. But the worst part was the blood. There was so much of it. Trails of it led from the tent down to the creek, where they found nothing but a torn shoe and deep claw marks in the mud. The police searched the area for days but found no trace of the man's body. They wrote it off as a wild animal attack, a bear or mountain lion, but those of us who grew up hearing the stories knew better. The Beast of Hollow Creek had returned. Despite the warnings, a group of locals, including my brother Jake, decided to organize a search party to find the missing hiker. They didn't believe in the beast, and they were sure they could track down whatever had attacked him. They set out just before dusk, armed with rifles and flashlights, heading toward the creek. I wanted to go with them, but Jake told me to stay behind. "This isn't a kid's game," he said. "We'll be back before midnight." But they weren't. Midnight came and went, and there was no sign of them. By the time the sun rose, half the search party was still missing. The ones who returned refused to talk about what had happened. They were pale, shaken, and covered in scratches. All they would say was that they had seen something in the woods, something that moved faster than any animal they'd ever seen. And whatever it was, it had taken Jake. I couldn't just sit by and wait. Jake was my brother, and I wasn't about to let some monster from an old legend take him without a fight. I gathered a few friends, packed whatever weapons we could find, and headed into the woods at dusk. The air grew colder the closer we got to Hollow Creek. The trees felt like they were closing in on us, and every sound, every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, put us on edge. As we approached the creek, we found the remains of the search party's camp. Blood stained the ground, and there were deep gouges in the trees, as if something with massive claws had torn through the area. Then we heard it, a low, guttural growl, coming from the darkness ahead. My blood ran cold. It wasn't a normal animal sound. It was deeper, more menacing. And it was getting closer. We barely had time to react before it lunged out of the shadows. The beast was massive, taller than a man, with matted fur and glowing red eyes that cut through the darkness. Its claws were long and curved, dripping with fresh blood. But the worst part was its face, a twisted combination of animal and human features, with a mouth full of sharp, bloodied teeth. One of my friends fired his rifle, but the shot barely slowed it down. The beast tore through our group with terrifying speed, slashing and ripping as we tried to fight it off. I was knocked to the ground, my vision swimming as I watched the creature drag one of my friends into the darkness. The screams echoed through the trees, mixing with the beast's growls and the sound of tearing flesh. I scrambled to my feet, my heart pounding in my chest. We were no match for it. We had to get out of there, but I knew Jake was still out there, somewhere. We regrouped, bruised and bloodied, but determined. There was no going back now. We had to finish what we started. I couldn't leave without finding Jake. We followed the trail of blood deeper into the woods, the growls of the beast growing louder. Finally, we reached a clearing near the creek, and there it was, standing over Jake's motionless body, its claws dripping with fresh blood. Rage boiled inside me as I raised the rifle. The beast turned its glowing eyes toward us, letting out a guttural roar that shook the ground. We opened fire, bullet after bullet tearing into its thick hide, but the creature kept coming. It swiped at us with its massive claws, but I was too focused to feel the fear anymore. I aimed for its head, praying that one of us would land a killing blow. Finally, with a final, ear-splitting screech, the beast collapsed into the creek, its blood mixing with the water as it sank beneath the surface. The beast was dead, but the damage it had caused would never be undone. Jake was gone, along with half the people from the search party. The town mourned their losses, but there was a sense of relief, at least for now. I left Red Hollow soon after, unable to stay in a place haunted by so much death. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the beast wasn't really gone. People still whispered about it, about the strange sounds coming from the creek at night, about the claw marks that reappeared on trees after the rain. The beast of Hollow Creek might be dead, but something tells me it was never really alone.